Hello, it's my first time doing one of these. I'm wearing a beanie because I don't want to pay for gas and heating. And it is Wednesday the 6th of December. One of my good friends, game developer Sam Claydon, is working on a game right now called That's the Way the Cookie Crumbles. And I thought I would reach out. That was 2 weeks ago, and then my PC bricked it. So I've got a lovely new machine. I have no idea if you can even see it on screen. But I have exactly 2 days until it's due, and I'm starting from scratch. I have no theme, I have no production. I'm going to start today and hopefully finish tonight. We will see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down at my piano and I'm going to have a little tinker around, see what I come up with. I'm going to throw some promo material on screen and describe what I'm thinking of. So this screenshot, along with some of the footage that Sam has shared on his socials, go check him out, are what I had to work with. So I wanted something a little bit more intense and something a bit more energetic to match with the vibe. It gave me Super Monkey Ball, but with Sam's quirky creative ideas of being in a biscuit dimension. This is not how I usually work, but I ended up actually coming up with the name of the track before I came up with anything else, and that name is In a Cookie Fugue. And so if you know Baroque music to an extent, you probably know what a fugue is. It's like a singular melodic capsule that you slot in between 3 or 4, as many as you want really, voices. It's most commonly 3 or 4 voices, but they'll work in something called counterpoint, where they go against each other, they work together, they stand alone. The real difficulty of a fugue is making sure each part has their own melody. It's like these melodies explain the harmony, but through varying ways. But it has a real energetic feel to it, and that's what I'm going to work with today. So I'm going to get to practice, and I'm going to give it a little go and see what I come up with. Okay, so I had a little tinker on the piano, and this is what I came up with. It's a little engine that just thrives off of repeatability, and hopefully, I think so, it's catchy. I don't want to go too intense for a theme. It really is just a 1-bar theme that is variated ever so slightly to lead back down to this C. We're in C minor, and really, it's just going to repeat over and over again. I want something that's nice and simple, that fits over the top of the gameplay and doesn't make it too complicated. That's the main thing. Let me just throw on a tempo marking. And let's have a listen. Really simple. Really, really simple. But that's it. The whole piece is going to be based around what's really 1 second. It's going to vary it, and it's going to go to all these different exciting new places to add some interest. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this into the second voice. And the second voice is going to repeat this, but in a different key. Most likely, I usually go up a fifth, so I'll go up to G minor. And I just need to find a quick and easy way to modulate there. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, so that wasn't so difficult. It just required a little bit of a inflection here. And all I really did was carried on this little passage, the next 2 bars, almost like this bar has now gone to 6 beats. You can see with this B natural, I'm hinting towards a C harmonic minor. And then as we head down, I also added an A natural, so I'm hinting towards a G minor feel. And in this bar is the D, C, B natural, A natural, is I'm hinting towards a D major inflection, acting as our secondary dominant to head towards G minor. And you can hear that here. So, obviously, the next thing I need to work on now is this second voice here. It needs to carry on with this energy. Really, it needs to add a little bit more intensity and a little bit more flavor. So I'll take a couple minutes and you get to see what that would sound like. And did a little bit more than I thought. So what I've done here is I've expanded upon this G minor theme, and I'm leading to something here, which I'll discuss in a second. But I also expanded upon the first voice here. Now, what I'm aiming at here is these sort of little extra notes that sort of flick in and out between each part, and I want something to really build intensity here. So you'll hear this here. We'll go from here. So what I'm leading towards is this section here. Now, this happens throughout a lot of Bach's music anyway. The intensity already in this piece is building and building and building, and I want to dissipate it just a little bit with some more typical emotional Baroque writing, which for me, what sums that up is a circular fifth progression. But I'm actually cutting it short. It's only 2 bars long, and I immediately cut it off so that we head towards, well, we're actually heading towards a C minor again. So we're modulating back to C minor. Bach does a lot of modulations. He does a lot of modulations to very extreme keys. And I don't think I want to do that. I think it would detract from the end result, which for me is a piece that glues into the game. And if I start in C minor and I somehow end up in A major and F sharp major and all these very remote keys, I think it's going to distract the player a little too much. So instead, I'm just going to focus around C minor and G minor, but I'll have a few little flicks into like F minor and C major and maybe G major as well, just to keep it locked into one place. I think it would be too complicated if I do too much modulating. But this B theme really is just the circular fifths. It's a very simple circular fifths, but we'll go from here so we can hear it. Some of these modulations are quite rapid and a bit crude, but it does the job, I think. I always found when I was learning Bach fugues is that sometimes the modulations are a little hasty, and sometimes they're not, but I'm going for the hasty because intensity. But now is the time for my third voice. I think I'm only going to do 3. I think 4 would be too much of a headache, in all honesty. I do not want to deal with that. So I'm only going to go through a 3-voice fugue, but let me flesh out a repetition. Now we're back in C, we're back in the home key. I'm going to use the bass voice, the third voice, to repeat our tonic phrase. And that should really lock us into the key of C minor so that everyone's sort of, oh, we're back home again. So I'm going to get to work on that. I think I finished it. I wasn't expecting to work that quickly, but it seemed to just flow naturally, to be honest. Here's our third voice taking the main phrase. And we lead off towards G major before back to G minor. This is a modulating section to get back to C here. I ended up using C again, and this time I delay a second phrase. But I've done a little interesting thing in this bar where I've taken the main theme and I've kind of transposed it up a fifth, but not by key, but just tonally in the key. So we are in G minor here, but I'm starting the melody from the fifth. Like here, this is C minor. We're going C to G. Rather than going G to D, we're now going D to G. So we're doing a fourth. It's like I've harmonized it at the fifth. But we have this little pit stop at G major. This move to G minor again here before heading back to C minor in this bar. And the second voice doubles it, but it takes on this idea here, this harmonizing at the fifth, and I've moved it like around 2 beats in so that they start staggered. And I like that. It adds a lot more intensity. And then this bass line, like a lot of Bach movements, once this lower voice has had its go, it likes to be a bit frivolous. So that's what I've done here. I've made a bit of a all over the place bass. And then we head all the way through, and we have a full showcase of this little B theme. And we just go to repeat one more time, and then finally leads into our perfect cadence. Woo! Back to C minor. So let's go from the rundown here. And then you can hear it repeat. So, I'm happy with that. I'm going to now move it towards Cubase. I'm going to input it all, and I'll see you there. Okay, so I've been busy working. I've got 3 voices, and really, they're just 3 serum patches that are just slightly different. These 2 are lead patches, and as I said, I wanted that third patch to be a bass. So I have a totally different bass patch. I'm not going to show too much of these Cm patches off because I'm actually going to release them. I made these patches over a year ago for the Calcium Crusader, another one of Sam's games. And I spent months designing these chiptune-esque Cm patches. So if you would like some of these sounds, be sure to follow me and you'll get some updates on that. As for this track, if I show you, let's go from here. So they're okay, but they clash a lot. So in each of these tracks, you can see I've got the exact same plugin. I love this one because it's like a pre-fader. It's really easy to use. Yeah, okay, it's not as powerful as like the Q10 and the C1 and stuff, but I don't need something super intense, so this does just fine. So the first thing I do is I separate each of these instruments into different spectral bands, and you can see this is sort of peaking at around 5K and maybe like 15K, and this one's peaking around 8K, so they sort of try and focus in different areas so that they can stand out. And then really, once these mixes are put in, they have a little bit of compression just to like really press it down so that it can stand over the top of everything else, and you end up with this sound. Which just, it sounds a lot clearer, a lot punchier. And then this bass synth comes in. And then the last thing to really separate these out are these stereo images. They're sort of balanced out roughly. This is how I felt it worked. The widths on them, the stereo width is turned down. Really, the bass is completely zeroed out, almost mono. But really, these start to bleed in a little towards the middle so that these sort of frequencies can blend around the center point, but they occupy either side of the stereo spectrum. They're not hard pan left, hard pan right. It's a bit extreme, but they are comfortably in their own little stereo regions. And there you go. So that makes it nice and easy to work with, really. You can hear each of the voices. You can focus on each one when you want. So now we're on to percussion. And one thing I really noticed in this is it could really work in some sort of hip-hoppy beat. And so what I've done is, again, with the Cm patch that I'm going to release, you get a lovely sort of little 8-bitty percussion sound. Oh, another thing I did actually that I didn't mention. And so here we are back in MuseScore, and you can see I've actually added, from this rundown that we had here, it actually went to this bar here. I've added in 4 extra bars. So if I choose this to exclude playing this section, you'll hear why I've done this. You can see we get into this sort of, it's almost like a drop. And that's what I'm going to refer to it from now on, because that's what I use it as. This is my main theme, and I've finally got it in its full intensity, and it's 4 bars long. And then it immediately modulates out. So instead, let's just make it 8 bars long. Let's make it have an impact. So now it sounds like it has somewhere to go. I also did a little thing that I forgot to mention. I actually flow to C major in this chord here. It's actually a C dominant 7, and then it flicks immediately back to F. It's this really weird miniature T.S. to Picardy, but we just head straight back into C minor. And so coming back in here, as it leads in, I just added an extra bar just in the end, and it will lead back in. And I like that. I think it's an easy loop. As well, I've adjusted these volumes so that this is really the loop pattern up to here. This reverb will fade into this bar, so it naturally fades out before coming right back in the restart. And that solves the looping issue. So let's have a listen to the ending track. Okay, so that wraps it up. It is officially nighttime, and I think that was a success. Both I and Sam are happy with the ending result, and that's more than I can ask for, so really happy with it. We didn't really have time to implement this time, but for a day's work, I'm happy with what came out. I think next time it would be nice to focus on the implementation a little more. I would have liked to have not done a straight loop, but something that adapts to the gameplay as well. That would have been a lot nicer for the user experience. But at the end of the day, I am very happy with the end result. It reminds me a lot of Undertale and BattleBlock Theatre, so both amazing, incredible scores. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching a little peek behind the curtains of my creative process, and I will catch you next time.